May is Mental Health Month, and I can't let it pass without talking about mental health and dating. For anyone who is struggling with feeling safe and okay in the world, it often feels like dating just makes everything worse. Dating is hard enough as is. To put yourself out there when you're not feeling okay, when your emotions are already raw and you don't have any reserves left, it's excruciating. Rejection that would normally bounce off your back ends up flattening you. And if you ever tried online dating during the pandemic, you might know what I mean. There are some really awful people out there. And on a good day, you can just write them off as jerks. But in the middle of a crisis, when you are lonely and you're just hoping for some human connection, those jerks can destroy your faith in humanity. It's just too painful to see the ugliness of some people up close and personal. So, in this video, I'm not going to hand you easy answers because I think easy answers are a lie. Feeling okay is an ongoing struggle, and there's oftentimes that you feel like you're going backwards. So, what I want to do instead is talk about how it feels when your life has fallen apart and every interaction with another human being feels like it's scraping that wound raw. Now, I'm not speaking here as a mental health expert because I'm not. I'm speaking as somebody who has seen the ways that dating stigmatizes people with mental health struggles. Every single one of us is worthy of unconditional love. Now, that's so easy to say, but so incredibly difficult to believe. And when you're struggling, you need that love. You need someone to believe in you when you've lost your belief in yourself. This video is about that struggle. It's about the difference between how things should be and how they really are. It's about the difference between what people say and what they really do. And it's about the difference between how things look on the outside and how they feel on the inside. Now, you may not resonate with anything I have to say, and that's fine. Trust your own experience. And if you need some extra help or if you're struggling right now, I will put some links to some helplines below. There are two kinds of people in life. There are the people who have it together enough to function. And then there are those of us who have fallen apart. And if your life is in the process of falling apart or it's already fallen apart long ago, it can feel like you have nothing in common with those other people. They've got their jobs and their families and their homes and their fabulous social media feeds. Well, you're just trying to dredge up the energy to survive another day. Life feels really different when you are metaphorically crushed under 10 tons of bricks. The energy it takes you to move an inch is infinitely greater than it takes those people to run a mile. You can't even relate to normal people. Like, what would you say to them? They have no clue what you're going through. And even if you told them, they wouldn't understand. And so your life becomes this process of hiding because you can't tell people your life is falling apart. It's inappropriate. And most people aren't safe to tell anyway. So you end up living this dual life. On the outside, everything's fine. And then you go home and you shut the door and you wonder how you're going to make it through that next day. People don't treat you the same when you're struggling. I'm sure everyone out there would like to believe that they are understanding and compassionate and would never judge someone with mental health issues. But in practice, they judge all the time. Author Matt Haig, whom I love, writes a lot about his own mental health struggles. And he jokes about the things people say to people with depression that they would never say to somebody with a different illness. So he has a lot of jokes in his book, Reasons to Stay Alive. Here are a few of them. Come on, I know you've got tuberculosis, but it could be worse. At least no one's died. Another one is, oh, Alzheimer's, you say. Oh, tell me about it. I get that all the time. Here's another one. Ah, meningitis, huh? Come on, mind over matter. It's so funny. It's awful. A lot of people out there would like to believe that they would treat a depressed person with sensitivity and compassion. But here's the thing, that presumes they know about the depression, and they don't have a right to know that. You have a right to privacy, and you don't have to tell anyone that you're taking antidepressants or you're getting therapy or you've received a mental health diagnosis. And in the absence of that information, some people do make judgments. We live in a world where people take your behavior personally, even when you're only trying to protect yourself. And so they look at your behavior and, not knowing anything else about you, they assume that you're rude or cold or standoffish or unreliable or not even trying. They write you off. So much for compassion, right? When you're going through a time in your life that's really hard, so you feel sad, you feel stressed, you feel worried, you just don't have anything to give anymore. You're retreating into yourself to conserve energy. So you avoid company and you block yourself off because you don't want other people to see you like this. You can feel embarrassed. You can feel like this dark hole of endless need. And of course, ironically, that's when you need somebody to be there for you more than ever. You need a break from being the giver. Your spirit is crying out to receive. And yet, what are we taught? We're taught that it's better to give than to receive. We're taught that it's selfish to think about what we can get rather than what we can give. We're taught that we've got to show up as our best selves and contribute value and be positive. So no wonder we isolate ourselves right when we need help the most. We can't trust other people to meet us in our vulnerability, and we're sometimes ashamed of being weak. Now, there is a wonderful support community building around mental health. There are documentaries, there are forums, there are books. But for all of the stories we hear and all of those messages of "you are not alone," we still have to function on our own in this world. We got to make it through the day. We've got to keep our jobs. We've got to keep the house clean. We've got to pay our taxes. We've got to make other people happy. But it's hard to put a smile on other people's faces when you can barely keep one on your own. It can take everything you've got just to stay functional. And you don't have that extra energy to be available for other people. And people get mad. They think you're rejecting them. The less energy you have, the harder it becomes to fake it. So you've just got enough energy to get through your day, and you don't have the energy to pretend. And so much of our social life is based on pretending. We're supposed to be happy all the time, right? Because low energy turns people off. And even friends who love you can lose patience with you. And even worse, energy vampires can sense when you're vulnerable. Have you ever noticed that the kind of men you attract when you're vulnerable are not the same men you attract when you're feeling strong and confident? It's almost as if they can sense your weakness and they swoop in to take advantage of you. Now, the icing on the cake is the advice that tells you that you have to be your best self to be attractive, right? Because men want happy, confident, uncomplicated women. So where does that leave you? Alone for the rest of your life, living under a rock? The truth of the matter is that everyone is broken. We only differ in our degrees of brokenness. And so many people have begun the hard work of mending themselves. So they seal together those cracks with gold, and they're not ashamed of their scars. If I were to offer dating advice to anyone who is struggling right now, what I would tell them is this: look for the people with gold scars. Look for the people who know they're broken, who aren't ashamed of it, and who are engaged in the long and difficult work of sealing those cracks so that they can be filled with love. They know the journey is difficult, and they are not in any position to judge. Their compassion is real. What we want to do is get to the point where we allow ourselves to be filled up with love, because we've mended the cracks in our psyche where it all drains out again. And that's hard work and it can feel never ending. But there are people who know what it's like to face the pain and the trauma and the mistakes and the regrets. And they don't expect you to be perfect. They don't expect you to be unbroken. They just expect you to be real. So look for those people. They're out there, they're safe, and they can hold space for you. They don't need you to be anything you're not. Take really, really, really good care of yourself. And if you would like me to make more videos on topics like this, would you give me a thumbs up so that I know? And if you feel comfortable, talk to me in the comments about what you're struggling with. See you next time.